Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. The name that we're going to cover today, inshallah, is Malik al-Mulk. And inshallah, we have the time to cover Al-Warith as well. And they are closely related names. There are other names of Allah that have meanings close to the meanings implied in the names that we're going to cover tonight. But these are extraordinary names of Allah Azza wa Jal, just as all the names of Allah Azza wa Jal. You brothers and sisters, let me begin this session by telling you that these two names address the issues of the utmost concern in our life. Most questions that revolve around why did this happen to me? Why didn't this happen to me? Why do I have this? Why don't I have that? Why does somebody else have? The whys that we always ask that cause us a great deal of grief when we lose things or when we don't get what we're looking for in life. Here comes the answer from Allah in the form of a name. He gave Himself an attribute to comfort all of us and to address those questions. That's why, dear brothers and sisters, knowledge about Allah takes us to a higher platform. It allows us to live this life with not only just a new perspective, but with a true understanding of reality that puts us at ease. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, most people, the grief they go through, the problems they go through, emanate from a misunderstanding of reality. They're not reading the picture right. They're looking at the picture and they're just seeing dots. They're not understanding what it's about. Allah comes to explain to us reality, and there's one explanation, brother, not multiple explanations, one truth, not multiple truths. The intelligent person is the one who adopts the answer of the Creator. The foolish will adopt his or her own answer, follow their whims and desires. The problem is that they end up in miserable lives because they cannot read reality. So whenever they encounter a problem in life, face an experience, face a loss or a gain, they do not know how to interpret that. And they cause people around them grief as well. SubhanAllah. That's why these two names of Allah are names for healing. Allow for even relationship to operate smoothly in life. So let us begin with them and delve into them, inshallah. So Malik al-Mulk is a name that means the absolute king and owner of everything, of the kingdom or kingdoms. This name is composed of two parts. Malik, which means owner, Mulk means dominion. So the owner of dominions. So we'll find also a reference to Malik, the owner, the sovereign owner, in Surat Al-Fātiĥah. After beginning the most significant surah in the Quran, Surat Al-Fātiĥah, with Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the beneficent, the merciful. And we went over these two names and highlighted why Allah, of all names and attributes, He chose those to be contained in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The expression we repeat daily, and to contain it in Surat Al-Fātiĥah that you repeat in every rak'ah, not just merely every salah, every rak'ah. Isn't there a purpose and a reason why He is having us repeat His names, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim? It's a reminder that when you think of Allah, think first of His mercy, before His wrath, His mercy. That's His choice, subhanAllah. Allah is reminding us of what it is that He wants us to know about Him first. Not that we dismiss other qualities, but first know this about me. I'm your creator, nurturer, and I'm very merciful. In fact, I possess all mercy, infinite mercy. But then we read, Malik Yawmiddin, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin. Remind us, I am the owner, and it happens to be a name of Allah. So there is Malik, Al-Malik, wa Malik al-Mulk. Al-Malik covers really sovereignty, the true sovereign king. In fact, one of the readings of Malik Yawmiddin, one of the ways to read it, it's not the common reading, is Malik Yawmiddin. It's called Qira'at Warsh, common in countries in northern Africa. They don't say Malik Yawmiddin, they say Malik Yawmiddin. It's another possible reading of it. But that's another name of Allah, which means the sovereign. So Allah has both. He's not only the true owner of it, but He's the completely sovereign one over it, the king and the owner. So Allah chose the name Malik for Himself. So we said one of the interesting things about all the names of Allah is that He called Himself with these names. So when He called Himself the living one, and I specifically choose not to translate that as the ever-living, because there are two things that are unique about this name. The life of Allah Azza wa Jal is different than our life. And we spoke about two unique features that define the life of Allah as being distinct than our life. First, it is eternal. It has no beginning or no end. Not only is it eternal, but it has also no beginning. That's why I reject the translation, the ever-living, because it only addresses one aspect of the life that He has. So Allah, as Al-Hayy, not only is He eternally living and has no beginning, but His life is the perfect life. He lives an absolutely perfect life all the time. But Allah is above time too. It's not like you can talk about Allah operating in time. He created time. He's above time. But Allah has the perfect life, absolutely active all the time. with the maintenance and the running of the heavens and the earth. From our frame of reference, if we were to measure things by seconds and minutes and hours, there isn't a second that passes by except that Allah is doing infinite things. So in that second, Allah Azza wa Jalla is taking into His knowledge all of creation. He's aware of all creation in that one minute period of time. So He has the perfect life. As a take-home message from that name, really it's around the question, what kind of a life are you living? The life of this earth is not a life, Allah says. He literally calls it not a life. It's a fake life. Except for the ones who plant the seeds for the eternal life. The human being can eternalize his own life or her own life by connecting to the source of life. You have to essentially get the commodity from the seller of the commodity. The seller of life is the source of life, Allah Azza wa Jalla. You cannot get life from anywhere else. But we're not talking about just the physical life on earth. And Allah says those who have planted the seeds for the hereafter and connected them to Allah, connected their lives and deeds to Allah Azza wa Jalla, will inherit the life. And indeed we concluded by saying the life of Jannah, subhanAllah, has the qualities of the perfect life. Eternal, without interruption, it's perfect and enjoyable. You don't age and you maintain your capacity to enjoy it. On earth, when we age, we lose the capacity, the ability to physically enjoy. Today we have an extension of that. It's a name that, as I said in Surat Al-Fātiĥah, where Allah once again reminds us of an essential, fundamental meaning to our existence. Malik al-Mulk. He declares that just as I am the living one, I'm also the owner. Our ownership is not like His ownership. So we think we own. Allah's telling you, guess what? I'm actually the owner. Allah declares in this name that I own everything in the dominion, the visible things that you see and the invisible things that you don't see. How is it that Allah created everything and claims that He runs everything? Doesn't He say this? He says, I know everything. I run the affairs of the heavens and the earth. I maintain them, but I don't own them. It's illogical to think that Allah can run the heavens and the earth with complete authority and sovereignty where nobody can question Him without fully owning them and without having to run the decision by someone. I'm going to give you a simple example. Owning land in this country. Do you really own it? You don't even have control over many things you have. We don't have full authority over things. Things get taken away from us all the time. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is emphasizing this key meaning and also tells us on top of all of this, unlike you, I don't depend on the things that I own. So Allah owns everything, brothers and sisters. Imagine the things that we see. This whole earth, the planets, the resources in them, creation, us, and everything that you're about. Your organs, your limbs, your emotions and thoughts and intelligence, your knowledge, your ability to articulate. He says, I own it all. And at all the higher planes of existence, not only this universe, but the kingdoms above, the spiritual world, the jinn, the angels, the seven heavens, and what is above them. He owns it all. But Allah is also telling us through this name that unlike you, not only can you lose what you have, and you don't have full authority even when you think you own it, you depend on it. So I think I own this cup of water. But my goodness, can I live without it? I can't. I need the water. I need the air. I own my legs, but I need them to walk. So what's happening here? Where do you see the problem? If I own things and I need them, like a king owning an army, what do you think is a potential problem he can face? All they have to do is rebel. You're done. Because you need them. It happens all the time with revolutions and military coups. They can turn on you anytime. Similarly, your feet and the air. If I need something, it means it owns me. SubhanAllah, you're a slave to it because you need it. Allah says, I don't need anything that I own, independent of it all. But He owns it all. An essential key feature of the ownership of Allah Azza wa Jalla, dear brothers and sisters, as distinct from our ownership. Our ownership is indeed an ownership where we depend on the things that we own. And it is transitory and temporary. So essentially, in a nutshell, Malik al-Mulk is telling all of us, whatever you own, it is something I own that I've given you to have on a temporary basis. And it's only a matter of time before it is taken back and restored to the true owner. It has to be given back. I'm giving it to you as a trust. Imagine, brothers and sisters, every single thing. I'm not just talking about the physical, material things. Allah is in fact telling you your emotions, feelings, and thoughts, and mind, and heart are on temporary custody, essentially. You're temporarily owning them. And it's only a matter of time before they get taken back. And your soul, finally. I gave it to you to live this temporary life. It has to be restored. Your whole body. And imagine, brothers and sisters, measure on this. Every single thing that we feel we have control or power or ownership over, Allah says, it's all mine. Only a matter of time. Piece by piece, it is coming back to me. So Allah taught the Prophet ﷺ this fundamental reality in a beautiful verse in the Quran. Refer back to this verse Wallahi, brothers and sisters, you'll settle down in life, you'll find healing right away. Wherever you encounter a problem, because most problems revolve around the questions of tonight. Why do I have? Why don't I have? I'm working hard on this. Why can't I get it? Why can't I get that promotion? Why can't I get this person, marry them? Why do I have those parents and this family? Why don't I have children? Why and why and why? But it's all about possessing things. Why am I not smart enough to know more? Why can I not speak better? There are things we can definitely improve in our lives, but we reach sometimes, we hit a wall, and we still are angry, and we question, and we doubt. Allah's telling you, pay attention to my words and you'll find the healing and the answer to settle your heart and allow you to live better. So listen to what he teaches the Prophet ﷺ, and it's a verse that revolves around the central name Malik al-Mulk. Allah tells the Prophet ﷺ, قُلْ say, قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ. Say, Allah is Malik al-Mulk, the owner of all the dominion. Say it. Is he just wanting to say it verbally or to witness it with his heart? And to see it, feel it, experience it. That's what he's asking. And by extension, he's asking all of us, say, acknowledge, remind yourself, Allah is Malik al-Mulk. Next time we read Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Surat Al-Fātiĥah, brothers and sisters, stop at Maliki Yawmiddin. We're going to talk about the ownership of the Day of Judgment, but pay attention to the word Malik, Malik, repeat it. Malik, Malik al-Mulk, Malik al-Mulk. Let it resound or echo in your heart. Allah, brothers and sisters, it will heal you. Because it will shed light on the meaning of things around you. So he tells the Prophet ﷺ, say that. Essentially, as I said, by this statement, Allah wants us to acknowledge that everything, once more, we think we own belongs to Allah, including our wealth, our health, our knowledge, our capacity and ability, our youth, our time, our adulthood, our smile, our ability to feel, our joy, our tears. It's all His. And He gives and takes as He wills, as He tells us next. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ. He's telling you, not only do I own everything, I give Him to you temporarily. And then He says next, I give it to whomever I will, whoever He chooses. And I take it away from whomever I choose. Isn't that what happens around us? Why is someone a king and not somebody else? It's the decision of Allah. Why is someone a scholar and not somebody else who happens to have that knowledge? Allah has given it to them. You can build on that and think of all the other examples. Why does somebody have health and not somebody else? Why does this person have this disease and not that person? Etc., etc. All these questions around why someone has or doesn't have. But when we always ask this question, but someone does not deserve it. They're such bad people. Why does Allah keep giving them? How often do we hear this? Or hear ourselves asking the question, and what does it engender in your heart? Bitterness, anger, wrath. And when you have those feelings in your heart, you cannot live. You cannot function. So Allah's reminding us, say, I give to whomever I will, and I take away from whomever I will. By the wisdom of Allah Azza Jal, He is the grantor of ownership and control. And when He makes a decision, can anybody dispute with Allah or argue? Nobody can stand in His way or coerce Allah to change His decision. Nobody can stand in the path of Allah Azza Jal. Indeed, His command is supreme. And He is emphasizing this meaning in this ayah. And also reminding us that when I make these decisions, it is by my wisdom. This is where we need to submit to Allah. Allah's decisions are not random. They're driven by His knowledge and wisdom that is beyond us. He may expose us to some of this wisdom and knowledge. He allows us in life to see the meanings of things. He gives us live examples as to why He may give somebody and not give them something. He gives us example of how He gives somebody and it causes them to get destroyed. He gives us all kinds of live examples, and He's asking us, are you content? And content with my wisdom, and say, Ya Allah, you know and I do not know. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. You give and you take, and I'm happy with what you have given me, and what you have taken away from me, and what you have not given me. Brothers and sisters, if you reach that level, that's the highest level of Iman. And highest level of Iman, you mean you are in comfort. It's healing in your heart. Tranquility. You're going to taste it in your heart. Once you grasp this reality, easier said than done. It needs internalization. So Allah's telling the Prophet ﷺ and all of us, don't be sad when I do not give you something. And you never know, maybe the thing that I didn't give you is going to be a cause for your joy and tranquility. So don't ask for things without knowing. If I don't give them to you, say Alhamdulillah. If I give them to you, say Alhamdulillah. But trust in my knowledge and wisdom. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he was standing in front of the mirror, thinking of everything that he owns. He's a king. So he said, I wish this kingdom would remain. So his servant is behind him. What does she say to him when she hears him? Very wise words. And she did not get scared to share them. She says, if this kingdom had remained because He's wishing for it to remain, to not end. He said, if it didn't end for the person before you, if it remained with the person that you inherited from, it would not have reached you. Since it didn't stay with the person who preceded you so that it reaches you, it's not going to stay with you so that it reaches who? The next person it is destined for. And similarly, all of life for all of us, dear brothers and sisters. Again, live examples all around. With the car that you have, it gets sold, it gets transferred to somebody else. The house, people come in and out, multiple owners, and things get transferred in lives. But rest assured, all these movements of ownership that you see around you are by the decree of Allah. None of them is random. That is your rizq and provision. And provision, brothers and sisters, is not just what you own and don't own. It's also how long you use it. You have a book, and you bought it, and you're happy with it. As long as it's on the shelf, you don't have that knowledge. Once you start reading it and learning it, now you own that. Allah is granting you. Maybe He'll grant you understanding as well. If I read half the book and I put it back and then I lost the book, that's the length of the ownership you had over that. That's it. I was destined to read just the 10 pages on understanding. None of the rest is mine. And you have to accept that. SubhanAllah. All kinds of little things happen in our lives that demonstrate this meaning. Indeed, brothers and sisters, when Allah gives, He can give overwhelmingly and He can withdraw overwhelmingly, as we see in rain and drought. Yet again, Allah demonstrating, I give, but when I give, I can give in abundance because I own it. And when I take away, I can take in abundance as well because it's mine. So He emphasizes this meaning as well in the ayah. وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ. He says, don't you see that I give and I take? I erect kingdoms and then I take it away from them. How many dictators have just fallen in front of our eyes? Nobody would think that they will lose power. Yet Allah has stripped it away from them. It's all signs for us, brothers and sisters. For those of us who have shaky belief that Allah can give us, that Allah can help us, that Allah can support us, that Allah can lift us from our misery and help us overcome our difficulties. He's saying, I just take it away from them and I can give somebody else in no time, overnight, in a flash. تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك من تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء. And then He reminds us, even dignity and honor is something I own. I can honor people and I can humiliate them. And if Allah, dear brothers and sisters, wants to honor you, He'll subjugate your enemy to you. And if He wants to humiliate someone, He can humiliate with the closest of people to them. How many times do we see parents being humiliated by their children? Sad, tragic, of course. It's a test perhaps for them, or they might have earned it. Allah knows. I always see people who mistreat their parents getting humiliated by their children. But others are tested. Indeed, brothers and sisters, demonstrating once again that dignity and honor belong to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He can do it to any of us. And Allah saying, dignity is with me, seek it from me. I'll honor you. I'll elevate you. Seek it from others, humiliation. Notice, dear brothers and sisters, as Yūsuf alayhi salam, when he sought and asked Allah, and he said to him, Oh Allah, you granted me from the kingdom. Rabbi, qad ataytani min al-mulk. Oh Allah, you granted me from the kingdom. What did he refer to? Did he really refer to the physical kingdom? Because Yūsuf got appointed to a very high position in Egypt. After the struggle, he got appointed to a high post, Minister of Finance. Was he really just referring to that? The scholars say no. He's referring to something much higher that has the quality of eternity. What is it? It's the wisdom and the understanding. So when he asked, what did he ask for? Grant me understanding, insight, perception. Because brothers and sisters, Allah can give you a kingdom. All kinds of things. But if He strips wisdom away from you, He can destroy yourself. How often does Allah give us blessings in our lives that we either take for granted or we abuse, causing harm to them and ourselves? All the time we do it. And someone who has nothing, but Allah has given them wisdom, subhanAllah, and they are living lives of tranquility and contentment. The most blessed possession that Allah can give you, brothers and sisters, is understanding and wisdom. Sincerity. What a jewel. That your heart does not seek anyone but Allah. That I'm not about what people say about me. That I'm not about position, rank, reputation, opinions of others. Wallah, brothers and sisters, once you say it doesn't matter, oh Allah, are you happy with me? Wallahi, brothers and sisters, you've arrived. The greatest gift, Allah has just given it to you. Say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, Alhamdulillah. If you're not thinking like this, you're going to be miserable. Because you're constantly seeking the pleasure of other people or to impress others, and that means the heart is not sincere. And it's a gift from Allah Azza wa Jalla, and indeed given by Malik al-Mulk. So Allah then says in the verse, بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. He's telling the Prophet ﷺ, say after all of this, Oh Allah, in your hand is all goodness. Once again to emphasize that no decision is made except that it's good decision. We may not grasp it. And here is another problem for us. We start doubting Allah. How often do we go to Allah, ask for things? Because sometimes we only remember Allah when we need help. Allah, give me that. Specifically ask for that by name. And you wait. It's not coming. Then you get upset with Allah. Why does Allah not give me? You see, Allah says, I answer. His name is Al-Mujib. He's not giving me. What does Allah say? It's saying in the verse, بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. In your hand is all goodness. Here comes the trust. Are you trusting that Allah, in His hand is all goodness, that His decisions are guided by wisdom beyond our comprehension, that whatever He does to you is the best thing for you, whether He takes or gives, that perhaps the thing you're asking for in Allah's wisdom and knowledge is the worst thing for you, but you're insisting on it instead of trusting the wisdom of Allah Azza wa Jal? And that on top of all of this, Allah is not the means but the end. Because we only go to Allah as a means. Ya Allah, give me the thing that I want, the end. I want things. This is what I want in life. This is my Jannah. The house, the career, the spouse that I'm dreaming about. Whatever it is that people take as their object of worship. You want it, you adore it, you covet it so much, you want Allah now. You remember Allah, because I want you to give me my Jannah. So then Allah doesn't give you your Jannah to test you, then you drop Allah. You're forgetting that Allah is your Jannah. That's the end, not the means. This was the means to get to Allah. Maybe Allah deprived you of it to get you to go ask Him and build the relationship, but He's the end. That's what the Prophet ﷺ says. Oh Allah, when he was physically wounded and bleeding, he said, oh Allah, it doesn't matter what happens to me. Even if they want to harm me, take anything away from me, everybody turns against me, as long as you're happy with me. That is a statement saying you are the end. The destination, my source of fulfillment, doesn't matter what is taken away from me. وَتَرْزُقُ مَنْ تَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ is the end of the verse. Allah continues to say, تُولِجُ اللَّيْلَ فِي النَّهَارِ وَتُولِجُ النَّهَارَ فِي اللَّيْلِ. He gives to us examples from physical reality around us that demonstrate how He gives and takes. How He, over time or in no time, can make something, a phenomenon, overpower another phenomenon. He says, look around you. Don't you see how Allah merges the morning into night? And when the sun is out, you think nothing can overpower the sun. Yet in no time, you see the night enveloping the day. And in no time, in few hours, you see the sun shining. Isn't that an act of giving and granting and taking? If you think about it. Allah's saying, in that are signs for you in your own life. This is a fundamental lesson of the Quran. Don't be too happy when you get something. So when we get the thing, we ask Allah, Allah, give me this, and I got it. Oh, it's my Jannah, alhamdulillah. That's it. I arrived. You know when you get that career, that rank, that house, you think, oh my goodness, things are happening, you're working out. I got everything that I want. You think you arrived, that it only can get better and better. You're in for a big trap. Allah says, don't be too happy. You have not arrived where? In Jannah. It can be taken away anytime. And the path of life is a path of ups and downs. But then He says, if you lose it, also don't be too sad. Because you're not in hellfire. That's when you need to be sad. So you're not in Jannah, you're not in hellfire, and it's a path that is upside down until you get to your destination. Everything else is a means, and will be granted and taken away from you. So do well with it. And He further says, look at the signs, and then look at how I bring the living out of the dead and the dead out of the living. تُخْرِجُ الْحَيَّ مِنَ الْمَيِّتِ تُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتَ مِنَ الْحَيِّ. You see it in front of you. I demonstrate to you my capacity and power. Don't lose hope. If you don't have the means and the resources, don't lose hope. In front of you, I bring a seed out of a tree, and a tree out of a seed. Living out of the dead, dead out of a living. Out of a little tiny creature, a human being comes out. You see it in front of you all the time. Why are we losing hope in Allah? Aren't these signs for us? And then He says, وَتَرْزُقُ مَنْ تَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. And to assure all of you, when I give in abundance, without measure. Essentially, this entire verse, dear brothers and sisters, is a description of Malik al-Mulk. But the message of it to the Prophet ﷺ and all of us is, don't worry. Remember who the true owner of everything is. And don't worry about His capacity and power to give. But when He gives or takes, remember He's the true owner and don't question Him. It is happening for a good reason. Now apply this to everything that you have or don't have. Now I'd like to switch to another name that complements or introduces another dimension. There's a lot more that can be said about Malik al-Mulk. But because we have like 15-20 minutes, I'd like to move to the next name and wrap it up with applications of the names. Al-Warith. Because this completes the picture. This is where بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ, in your hand is all goodness. I want to know, okay, what's the end of the story here? Don't give me something and then take it back. It's much harder to experience something and lose it than not to have it. Don't put me in a big, beautiful home and then take it away from me. I'd rather be living in a smaller house and never know what a big home is. What is this whole deal about giving us things and then taking them away from us? There has to be another component to the story. It comes through Al-Warith. Al-Warith essentially means the ultimate inheritor. The notion of inheritance. Very critical to understanding Malik al-Mulk, by the way. Because again, it completes the picture. When do we talk of inheritance on earth? When someone dies. There are heirs who take whatever is left from the one who died. That's inheritance. So just as Al-Hayy and just as Al-Malik, Allah called Himself Al-Warith, the one who inherits. What does that tell you about our inheritance? He's saying, guess what? Really, at the end of it all, I'm really the inheritor. Why is that? The answer is in Malik al-Mulk. If someone passes away and I inherit them, well, guess what? It's only a matter of time before I die. So it's going to get passed on to somebody else. And then somebody else has to also die. guess what's going to happen? Chain until everybody dies and it gets inherited by the inheritor. So Allah says, no matter how you spin it, I'm inheriting it back. You cannot keep it. I'm talking about not just wealth and homes, material, everything. Seen and unseen, including your knowledge and feelings and emotions, get inherited back by Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is the meaning that is also emphasized in Malik Yawmiddin. You are the true owner of the Day of Judgment. It is on that day that you will see that Allah inherited everything back and He owns everything. It will be manifest to everybody, by the way. Here, we are deluded a little bit. We're not seeing it clearly. Some see it, some don't see it. Depends on what Allah has given you in your heart, the ability to perceive it. And many people deny it. Well, guess what? Even the deniers of Allah, who deny His entire existence, or deny the fact, Muslims, they acknowledge Allah, but they forget that Allah owns everything. On the Day of Judgment, brothers and sisters, it will be so manifestly clear that Allah has full authority and ownership of everything. Everybody will be acknowledging it, testifying to it. In fact, there's a beautiful hadith that speaks about this, to emphasize this meaning. We learn in the hadith that when Allah Azza wa Jal ends all existence, after the sounding of the hour and the blowing of the trumpet, the first blow of the trumpet stuns everything, jolts everything in creation, and is brought to complete demolition and destruction. Everything comes to an end. According to the hadith, everyone is jolted to death and ends except few that Allah selects. And these are the carriers of the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal and 4 angels. And the angels are Israfil, the blower of the trumpet, Jibreel, Israel, the angel of death, and Mikael. 4 angels, by the will of Allah, His decision is to keep them. They're the only creatures left in all creation, in the heavens and on earth, in Al-Mulk and Al-Malakut, according to the hadith. And the carriers of the throne of Allah. So Allah looks at the angel of death and He says, who is on it? Who's reigning? Of course He knows. He says, well, Mikael, Jibreel, Israfil, and the carriers of the throne. Well, He goes and asks them to take the lives of the carriers of the throne. And He takes them. After He takes the life of the last angel, He says to the angel of death, who's left? He says, me. Imagine there is a point at which Allah is left with just 1 angel. Up to that point, Allah took everything back. The inheritor took everything back, but there's 1. So what does He tell him? Incredibly climatic. He says, angel of death, you've been taking life. Since you're creator, that was your purpose. Now, take your own life. And indeed, the angel of death, as the grand concluding act of existence, he comes to take his own life. And he gets to experience what it feels like to take someone's life. But it's his own life. And he takes his own life and he's dead. And at that point, what does Allah say according to the hadith? No one is living anymore. None. There's nothing living. Everything has come to a complete end. Allah declares in the dominion, لِمَنِ الْمُلْكُ الْيَوْمِ. As the Prophet tells us. He starts saying, to whom does the dominion belong today? To whom does the dominion belong today? To whom does the dominion belong today? And the Prophet says he continues to say it for 40, without specifying 40 days, 40 hours, 40 months, 40 years. But the years there are different than here. What? It doesn't matter? It really doesn't. There's no time anymore. But for a long time, he continues to say, to whom does the dominion belong today? And nobody's answering. Because there's none to answer. He answers his own question by saying, لِلَّهِ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارِ. To Allah the one, Al-Qahhar, the vanquisher. For indeed He is vanquished and overpowered all creation by bringing it to an end. No one is to answer but Allah Azza wa Jal, Malik al-Mulk. He is indeed asking, to whom does the dominion belong today? To finally summarize the meaning of all of this existence. It all belongs to me, Allah Azza wa Jal. So Allah inherits it back, dear brothers and sisters, whether we're aware or unaware. The person who's aware will always think about this meaning. While we have the thing, it's only a matter of time before it is inherited back by the true heir, the true owner of it, Allah. How many of us can walk, dear brothers and sisters, as they use their hand? It's a matter of time. Maybe not just for the hand to go back, but for the ability to use the hand. It's temporary custody. It's only a matter of time before this mind goes back to Allah. Whatever is in it, to be restored back to the true inheritor. My own feelings, my tears, my family. One by one, you look around the tree and the air that you breathe, all taken back by Allah. It's only a matter of time. When you encounter a loss, you say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Notice that's what Allah teaches in the Quran. Say right away, we belong to Allah, and to Allah we return. Not only do you say just we belong to Allah, but you remind yourself, it's okay, don't worry, you're going to go back to Allah for something better. Because that's a complementing meaning. We're about to cover and go over it that really beautifies this whole experience. So the heedful, the thoughtful, the perceptive one, brothers and sisters, remember that لِمَنِ الْمُلْكُ الْيَوْمِ. To whom does the dominion belong today? The believer hears it from now. And he's hearing the answer, Lillahi al-Wahid al-Qahar, to Allah, the one, the vanquisher. To whom does the dominion belong today? As you see phenomenon around you unfolding, whether they're big at the level of countries and states, where power gets changed and moved from one to another, or in your own personal life, when you see someone dying or coming to life, when you see a new child coming into existence, when you see the poor becoming wealthy or the wealthy becoming poor, you losing your health, gaining health. When you see all these things, you're constantly thinking, SubhanAllah, the one who owns, who gives and takes, to whom does the dominion belong today? And wallahi, brothers and sisters, if you start experiencing these and hearing it in your own mind, reminding yourself, inshallah, on that day, you'll be among the ones who are joyous to hear to whom the dominion belong today. Powerful. And one day we'll experience this, brothers and sisters. Now, Allah is saying, as an essential aspect of this name, that He is indeed the true inheritor, to whom everything is left after its temporal possessors are gone. We are the temporal possessors. We temporarily possess everything, including us. It's only a matter of time before we're done, Allah takes everything back. So, the state of lastingness remains with Allah Azza wa Jal. The beautiful thing in all of this is that Allah is saying, I give and take, and it's only a matter of time before I take everything back. I inherit it all back, but for the believer, what do? Whatever I've taken from you, I'm going to give you back. So who becomes an inheritor? Remember when we spoke about life? When you're in Jannah, life of Jannah takes on qualities from the life of Allah. It becomes a beautiful life, absolute life. Allah gives it qualities that really make it a beautiful, perfect life. Not like the life of earth. Similarly, we thought we inherited here, but Allah is the inheritor. So guess what He does to you, similar to what He has done with your life in the hereafter. He's going to give you things to be an inheritor as well. And He calls the believers from His own attributes, inheritors. They are the true inheritors, because no one is going to dare to take it away from them. Nobody can. Subhanallah. So everything that I have will come back? Absolutely. Nothing is lost. Nothing meaningful, good will be lost. Whether it's something, or whether it's an experience, or whether it's a deed or a thought, everything will come back. But when it comes back, how does it come back? Like earth? Absolutely not. Because it's taken on the meaning of the best life. So it's going to be in a new form. I'll give you an example. But let me actually begin it with what the inheritors of Jannah will say themselves. They're going to acknowledge it right away, just as everybody will acknowledge on the Day of Judgment, Allah is the true owner. Nobody can deny that day. Nobody can even dare. What did they say when they first enter Jannah? They don't say Assalamu alaikum. The first words is gratitude. So they say, وَقَالُوا الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي صَدَقَنَا وَعَدَ, the one who fulfilled His promise. And then they say, guess what they say next? وَأَوْرَثَنَا الْأَرْضِ, and He gave us earth in inheritance. نَتَبَوَّأُ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ حَيْثُ نَشَاءُ, we take from Jannah and we get everything we want and desire in this Jannah. And then Allah says, فَنِعْمَ أَجْرُ الْعَامِلِينَ, indeed a good, bountiful, honorable reward, well deserved for those who worked. Never ever going to be taken back from any of them. So they end up becoming the final possessors. Indeed, everything returns to the believer. I'll give you an example. Friendship. Brothers and sisters, friendship and companionship is a coveted experience on earth. Who can live without friends? Inshallah, good friends. Because people desire friends, but they can end up having terrible friends who make them terrible human beings. Friendship is a need. But how often do we lose our friends on earth? How often do friends turn their backs on us? Or how often do we run into situations where we just cannot make friends? Allah says, you see how beautiful that experience that you're desiring? You might have a friend and you lose them. All these things happen to you. Don't worry. Have well intentions. Be sincere in what you do. I'm going to bring you back your friends, but even better. And better friends as well. So that when you have companionship in the hereafter, it's eternal. You've loved someone sincerely, spouse, your children, your parents, your friends. You've really given them from your heart, but they might not have paid you back. They might have hurt you while you're giving them love. Does that love get lost? Not with Allah, because you connected it to the source of life. It's eternal. So you think that love was wasted. How often do we hear statements like, I just wasted my time with someone. I just wasted my love on them. If you're sincere with Allah, that just shows whether you don't understand. And that you're not understanding who you're dealing with. You're dealing with Allah, not the human being. That's why people stop becoming good with others. Because they're dealing with human beings. They're dealing with the language of give and take. I need to give, you give me back. That means you're not dealing with Allah. Allah says, you deal with me much better than human beings. And I'll bring back to you everything you've given, but much, much more. You'll inherit it back. That's why the believer is a different creature, extraordinary creature. He or she continues to give no matter what others give or take. It doesn't matter how do you treat me. I'm going to continue to give. I'm not dealing with you. I'm dealing with Allah. And I'm going to be an inheritor if I'm with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Definitive promise from Allah Azza wa Jalla. All I have to do is be sincere. So love given is love given back. You'll see it. You'll see it in your life and you'll see it in the hereafter. It's not only in the hereafter. You'll begin to experience the joy of it here. You know when you give on earth, brothers and sisters, don't you feel the joy in your heart right away? That's the instant gratification of giving. SubhanAllah. So Allah says, continue to give. Give. I'm going to multiply for you on earth, but I'm going to give you true inheritance in the hereafter. Love, friendship, companionship, children, spouse, parents, joys, wealth, homes. Everything is going to come back. Even things that we grab onto youth. How much we grab onto youth? We don't want to see white hairs and wrinkling faces and weakening bodies. But Allah says, don't worry, let it go. It's a phase that has to end because I'm taking it back. And those who laugh at you younger, it's only a matter of time before they age. As soon as you realize and recognize you're actually youthful, it's over. It's foolish to think anything is eternal. And every stage has its beauties as well. And jewels. But you got to do your best with it before it's over. It's a petal of a rose. It's going to wither. It's only a matter of time before the entire rose is gone. So Allah's giving it to you as a trust. But you're going to re-inherit the rose. But when the rose is given back to you, it's a beautiful rose. Health will come back. Youth will come back. That's why we hear the people of Jannah, they're all youthful. Age of 33, never age. Health that never gets taken away from you. Sound thinking and sound feelings, where you'll never experience even one lingering bad thought, or bad emotion, or bitterness, or jealousy. Never. For the reality of Jannah. Perfect companionship. Perfect romance and love. Perfect, impossible type of love. Everything is taken to a higher platform, but it's eternal. So Allah is confirming you're going to inherit everything and it's going to stay with you. Who are really the true inheritors? The believers. But what is the condition? Do it for the sake of Allah. The trust, I got to do my best. My time is a trust. What are you going to do with your time? How are you going to live your life? Is it for Allah? You'll inherit it back. So every second now becomes an eternity in the hereafter. You've invested 1 second for the sake of Allah. You sat here, dear brothers and sisters, just to learn about Allah. Wallahi, inshallah, you inherit it back. Just trust. You have to trust in that. You've done something for someone, helped them out. Rest assured, you've invested with Allah. It's going to come back and you're going to inherit it. And it's not something temporary. Because His equations are different than our equations. And when you see it, you're going to say, Alhamdulillah, that Allah blessed me with that opportunity to do something for His sake. But how many opportunities do we pass, dear brothers and sisters? This is what what's called Surat Al-Anbyā is. Prophets, brothers and sisters, left inheritance. Just as parents leave things for their children, prophets left things to be inherited. What were they? They refer to in the Quran. Like Prophet Zakaria pleaded with Allah to give him a child. Pleaded with Allah, he's old in age. His wife cannot bear children. He said, Ya Allah, give me a child. Now typically, why do we have children? To carry our name? Instincts we have, but this is not what life is about. He pleaded with Allah to give him a child, not for any of this. He said to inherit the deen. This is the true inheritance. So what the prophets have left is knowledge, wisdom, and faith in Allah. Living righteously. That's what we need to pass on to our children and the younger generation, so that it's not lost. So we're worried about their provision and making it in life. Allah's saying, don't worry, I provide for them. You need to give them the tools, teach them, educate them, but pass on the deen to them, teach them well, so that they can live life righteously and pass it on to others. We flip the equation. That's true inheritance, brothers and sisters. When the prophets asked Allah, they asked Him for this. This is the ownership they asked for. Ya Allah, grant me wisdom, understanding, faith, righteousness. Make me a righteous person who do righteous things. And give me children who can inherit this so that it gets passed on to other people. Because if it doesn't get passed on to others, who's going to preach and teach? Where's da'wah? It's not going to be passed on. That's what we're encouraged to pass on to the younger generation. Whether it's your children or not your children. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't have children, take on other children. Teach them. But you're supposed to pass it on. This is the inheritance. SubhanAllah. And the more that you're keen on this and that you strive for it, inshallah your inheritance in the hereafter is going to be very beautiful. And Allah says, in that let the competitors compete. This is what we compete for. A good competition, inshallah, where everybody wins. Now we'll conclude with how do we live with this name? How do we implement its meanings? How do we live intimately with Malik al-Mulk and the inherit? Allah, brothers, if you can do this exercise, it's going to transform your experience of reality in life. And how you deal with the experiences of life and the interpretation of what happens to you and your family. That you begin to see, number one, to see and witness Allah's ownership and power over everything, including you. To literally recognize and say, I belong to Allah. Start repeating it. Sometimes we don't internalize something, but by saying it a lot, maybe it will start resonating. And say, I am a property of Allah. I belong to Allah. I belong to Allah. I belong to Allah. Well, just repeat it. Just between you and yourself. Maybe psychologically it will start resonating. I belong to Allah. Really, everything is... I mean, look at you. Observe you, clothes and everything you have, and your hands, and ability to move your eyes, and tongue as you talk. It's like, I belong to Allah. This belongs to Allah. This belongs to Allah. I belong to Allah. It's only a matter of time. Your entire perspective changes in the day. When Allah takes something from you, as we learn from the Prophet ﷺ, لِلَّهِ مَا أَخَذْ وَلِلَّهِ مَا أَعْطَى. To Allah belongs what He took away. To Allah belongs what He has given, and everything that Allah Azza wa Jal does is by precise measure. And as an extension of this lesson, to experience that Allah owns everything. When something is taken away from you and you lose a human being in your life, or wealth, or health, or whatever you end up losing, what do you say? Allah says in the Quran, here it is, this is the jewel of the night. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِ. Allah says, oh, those who are patient, who are content, when I do something that they dislike, and I take something away from them, give them glad tidings. But what's the quality of those patient people? What do they say? Allah's giving them the statement right here. He's saying, say it, believe in it. You're going to belong in this group, this extraordinary company of people. But you have to not practice it when it happens. He says the group that says the following: when they're afflicted with something, and it's usually when we're afflicted, it's a loss of something difficult, they immediately say, not only saying it with their mouth, they believe in it. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah we belong and to Allah we return. What are they going to get? Allah says the following: those are the ones who will receive the blessings and the mercy and the prayers of Allah on them, and His mercy, and they're indeed the guided ones. So the guided people, brothers and sisters, have signs. This is one of the signs. When they're afflicted, they experience something difficult and they lose something, immediately they're contented that they say, Inna lillah, we belong to Allah and to Allah we return. I belong to Allah, and not only I belong to Allah, but this life is all going to be over and we're all going to go back to Allah for a hereafter. Suddenly it expands your world. You say it, Allah will heal your heart. Practical, from the Quran, wisdoms from the Quran, divine, brothers and sisters, coming from the heavens, as a therapy for you and me, to deal with the experiences of life, whatever happens. Instead of complaining, to say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And to remind one another. All it takes sometimes is to be reminded. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, remind those around you when they encounter difficulty, death, health, disease, whatever it is. A problem with their families. Say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It's okay, they hurt you, including that, hurt you. Say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. My own body and experience is all Allah's. As long as He's happy. I belong to Him and to Him I return. And that's what I'm concerned with. Number two, don't worry. Trust not what's in your hand, because we always build our plans around what we have. You think, okay, I'm going to be good because I have this amount of money in the bank account. So you start thinking that your success, your ability to make it depends on what you have in your hand. Allah says drop. Whatever is in your hand doesn't mean anything. Trust what is in the hand of Allah, because He owns everything. And He has the keys to the treasures of the heavens and the earth. He can bestow in abundance. When you're trusting what is in your hand and forgetting about what's in the hand of Allah, you're being foolish, Allah's saying. And this is not going to help you. He can take it away anytime, by the way. But He's the one who can provide. Trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, brothers and sisters, and do not worry nor doubt when Allah gives or takes. Full trust that Allah can change your conditions in no time. Allah can open the doors of abundance on you. But you have to trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. And when He doesn't give, to say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's a choice of Allah Azza wa Jal. Indeed, in His hands is all good. Number three, how often, dear brothers and sisters, do we humiliate ourselves with people, thinking they are the givers and the takers? Wherever there is power and authority, wherever you seek something, it can be with money, it can be with power, people lose their dignity. It doesn't mean you cannot ask, but ask with dignity, understanding what they have is from Allah. They're not the ones giving you. They're a tool in the hands of Allah. If Allah wills, they'll gift you. So what is Allah doing to us? He wants us to be dignified. He's saying, dignify yourself, you belong to me. I'm yours, trust in me. I'm the giver and the taker. Don't lose your honor and dignity. Is there something better than this, brothers and sisters? Look at how empowered you'll walk in this life when you think, I belong to Allah. I ask, but I ask with dignity. I work with people, sure. We help each other out, sure. Doesn't mean we stop talking to each other and asking for help. Even the Prophet ﷺ asked for help, dignity and understanding. It's Allah. And it doesn't mean we hate people when somebody cannot give. You never know what their conditions are. But to trust, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's Allah's Azza wa Jal. Finally, brothers and sisters, and this is crucial. Whatever Allah has given you and entrusted you with, what are you going to do with it? Allah, brothers and sisters, this is a test of life right here. For true inheritance, okay, yes, I'm giving you time, I'm giving you youth. What are you going to do with it? This is a trust. This is the big test of life. What are we going to do with a trust? Trust means I've been given this, I have to return it back in better condition. I've given you health. How many people have squandered their health? I don't pay attention to the diet that I eat. I'm just telling you the honest truth. And I feel like it's a trust. Why am I not paying attention to the sugar in my food? Time. What are you going to do with your time, dear brothers? Are you going to use it for the service of the creation of Allah Azza wa Jalla? The causes of Allah, your mosque, your community, to worship Allah with this body of yours. Knowledge. Allah gave you understanding. What are you going to do with that understanding? Is it going to be shelved? Or is it going to be used to teach others, inshallah, and empower them to live life better? So brothers and sisters, whatever He gives us, He says khulafa, trustees. Whatever I've given you, and go back home tonight, brothers and sisters, and think of all the things that Allah has blessed you with. What are you doing with it? Because it's only a matter of time before it's taken from you. And once it's taken from you, khalas, it's over. And eventually your entire life is taken back. What have you done with it? What kinds of lives have we lived? Best lives? Those who serve Allah on earth. Not as a part-time thing. Where your entire existence is for Allah, brothers and sisters. Whether you're in the office, or at home, or in the masjid, or in the community. But you have to take on a new dimension of existence for Allah. Serving the creation of Allah, there's nothing better, brothers and sisters. That's how the prophets lived. And it's not complicated. You don't have to be a scholar to do this. Everybody has a skill, has a set of tools that Allah has equipped you with that you can use for the cause of Allah. And there are many causes, infinite causes. But think about yourself, don't think of others. We often start thinking about others and what they're doing. Think of you, me. What am I doing? If we start worrying about us, myself, and not other people, subhanAllah, we'll become much better human beings. And this, again, as I said, brothers and sisters, righteous deeds and righteous lives and empowering lives that empower the lives of other people. This is the inheritance of the prophets. Indeed, dear brothers and sisters, wallahi, this is the meaning of true inheritance that we take from Al-Warith and from Malik al-Mulk. With that, I conclude. And we always say, if nothing else, keep repeating the names and ask Allah with those names. You want something, say, Ya Malik al-Mulk. Oh Allah, one who owns. Repeat the name and ask for things. But when you ask like Yūsuf and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ask for the good thing. Knowledge, understanding, faith, righteousness. That Allah makes you among the people who work for Him, who are sincere. Ask for sincerity. Ask for the Quran to become something beloved to you. Ask for the things that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked. Ask for guidance. Ask for your heart not to flip and change. Ask for righteous children and families. Ask for Allah to heal, to bring the community together, to heal our brothers and sisters overseas. Ask for others so that Allah gives you too. We have to ask for our brothers and sisters. Ask for Allah to forgive the believing brothers and sisters and believing men and women on earth, those who came before us and those who come after us. These are the du'as of the prophets. And ask Allah that He joins you in the company of the Prophet ﷺ, in the company of all the prophets. And that He makes you among those, the highest seats in the hereafter. That's the true ownership, brothers and sisters. And ask for Al-Warith to make you the true inheritor in the hereafter. Repeat the names, inshaAllah. Allah bless you, inshaAllah, grant you from His knowledge and grant you true inheritance in this world and in the hereafter. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.